Mia was a girl who lived in a small town and liked to have a place of her own to think and be at peace. That special place was an old bridge where the river flowed below and the sunset painting the sky orange. She went there whenever she felt sad or wanted to be alone. One day while she was lost in her thoughts, she heard the click of a camera, and when she looked across the bridge she saw a young man taking pictures of the sunset. That boy was Liam, a young man who, despite having everything money could buy, was missing something more in his life. Photography was his way of connecting with the world in a different way, and the bridge was also his refuge. When their gazes met, something magical happened. They stared at each other for a few seconds as if time had stopped. Mia, curious and a little nervous, was the one who broke the silence with a simple hi. Alo smiled and responded kindly, starting a conversation that soon became natural and pleasant. They talked about many things, such as their dreams and the difficulties they faced in their lives. Even though they were from such different worlds, they discovered that they had a lot in common. Mia liked painting but had to put it aside to help her mother. Liam, on the other hand, wanted to be a photographer, but his family expected him to take over the family business. The more they talked, the more they felt that their meeting on the bridge was no accident. From that day on, Mia and Alvaro began to talk more often. The bridge, which had previously been a solitary place for the two of them, now became a meeting place where they could be themselves without pressure or judgment. What began as a simple conversation soon turned into a special friendship, and deep down they both knew that meeting on the bridge had changed their lives forever. Alo came from a very wealthy family, the Ruiz, who were known for being powerful in the city. From an early age he was brought up to follow in his father's footsteps and one day run the family business. Everyone expected him to be the perfect heir, but Alo had other dreams. What he really loved was taking pictures, capturing the world in a different way. But no matter how hard he tried, it seemed that no one in his family understood or supported his desire to be a photographer. Meanwhile, Mia had a very different life. She grew up with her mother in a simple house, and things became even more difficult when her father passed away. Since then, Mia has had to be strong, helping her mother to make sure that the little money they had was enough to pay the bills and keep things in order. Despite all the difficulties, Mia was always very determined and never stopped dreaming, even if reality was harsh. When Mia and Alo got to know each other better, they realized how different their lives were. Alo had everything money could buy but felt trapped by his family's expectations. Mia, on the other hand, who grew up with so little, knew the value of every achievement but carried the weight of many responsibilities. Even so, something united them, something that went beyond their very different backgrounds and realities. It was as if deep down they were both looking for the same thing, a place where they could be happy and free to follow their own paths. These differences between them were not easy to ignore. With each new meeting, Alvaro and Mia realized that the world they belonged to seemed to be in conflict with their feelings for each other, but even so they continued to meet, defying expectations and trying somehow to balance these two worlds that were so far apart. After all, despite everything, they knew that what they had was special and that it was worth fighting to maintain that connection. When Alo told his mother Mrs. Ruiz about Lua, her reaction was not good. Mrs. Ruiz was a very strict woman who cared a lot about what people thought of her family. For her, it was essential that Alo married someone from a wealthy and respected family, someone who was a match for the Ruiz family. As soon as she learned that Lu came from a humble family, Mrs. Ruiz decided that this relationship could not continue. She didn't think Lu was right for her son, and she would do anything to separate them. Mrs. Ruiz didn't stop there. To ensure that Alo stayed away from Mia, she decided to ask Serena, a childhood friend of Alvaro's, for help. Serena was always seen as the ideal partner for Liam, coming from a wealthy family and with all the style and education that Mrs. Ruiz valued. Serena, who had always had a special affection for Alo, saw this as an opportunity to finally win him over. She accepted Mrs. Ruiz's proposal and began to get closer to him, trying to show him that they were a much better match than he and Mia. Alvaro, however, was very much in love with Mia and resisted his mother's attempts to push them apart. Even though he felt the pressure, he knew that his feelings for Mia were real and important, but Mrs. Ruiz's disapproval and Serena's constant presence made Mia start to feel insecure. She knew she didn't have the same status as Serena and feared that in the end Alvaro would give in to his mother's pressure and move away from her. This situation created a great deal of tension between Alo and his mother. On the one hand, he wanted to follow his heart and stay with Mia, but on the other he felt a responsibility not to disappoint his family. For Mia, it was difficult to deal with the constant disapproval and comparisons with Serena, but she tried to stand firm despite all the difficulties. Alvaro and Mia were determined to face these obstacles together, believing that their love was strong enough to overcome any opposition. Even with all the pressure and disapproval, Alvaro was determined to follow his heart. He knew that Mia was the one for him and he didn't want to waste any time, so one day he surprised her with a marriage proposal for Mia. It was a magical moment but also full of uncertainties. She loved Liam but knew that marrying him would mean facing even more challenges, especially because of the difference between their families. However, the love they felt for each other was stronger than any fear, and Mia accepted the proposal with the decision made. Preparations for the wedding began. Meanwhile, Claire, Mia's mother, wanted to give her daughter something special, something that represented how much she loved and supported her. Claire didn't have much money, but she did own an old country house that had been in the family for generations. The house was in ruins and needed a lot of renovation, but it was full of memories and stories. Claire decided that this would be the wedding present for Mia and Liam, a symbol of love and new beginnings. When Mia and Alo received the gift, they were thrilled. They knew the house wasn't a mansion, but to them it meant much more. It was a place where they could build a life together with their own hands, transforming that old house into a home full of love. At the same time, however, Luca was a little afraid of what others would think, especially Alvaro's family, who were used to luxury and large estates. Despite their worries, Lucia and Alo were determined to make this marriage and their new life in the country house work. Claire's gift wasn't just a house, it was a sign that no matter the difficulties, they had the support and love of their family, and with that they were ready to begin this new phase of their lives together, facing whatever lay ahead. Mia and Alvaro's wedding day finally arrived and everything was set to be a moment of pure happiness. Mia was radiant in her wedding dress handmade by her mother Claire, and although she was anxious, she was also very happy to be marrying the man she loved. During the ceremony everything seemed perfect, but the reception soon brought out the tensions Mia had been dreading. When Claire presented the couple with the keys to their old country house, Mia's excitement was interrupted by looks of disdain and evil whispers. Mrs. Ruiz, Alvaro's mother, observed the gift with coldness and without disguising it exchanged glances with Serena as if they were sharing an inside joke for them. Claire's gift was a clear reminder of the differences and status between the families, something they couldn't accept. Serena, always ready to poke fun, approached Mia with a fake smile and in a condescending tone commented on how difficult it would be for Mia to maintain a house in ruins, especially without experience or resources. Serena's words were like a blow to Mia, who was already feeling insecure. The humiliation Mia felt at that moment was profound. She knew that the country house wasn't luxurious, but it was full of meaning and love. However, in the face of the comments and veiled criticism, she felt small and inadequate, as if she could never belong in Alvaro's world. Even with the support of Liam, who loved her unconditionally, Mia couldn't help the sadness that gripped her heart that day. What should have been a moment of celebration was for her marked by the feeling of not being accepted by her husband's family. Despite the pain, Mia decided not to let the criticism get her down. She knew that the country house represented more than appearance, it represented the chance to build a new and happy life alongside Alvaro. Even if Mrs. Ruiz and Serena didn't see the value in it, Mia was determined to turn that house into a real home where love and effort would prevail over any superficial judgment. She knew the journey wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to face it with her head held high and her heart full of hope. After their wedding, Mia and Alvaro moved into the old country house that Claire had given them. Although it was in ruins, the couple saw it as an opportunity to build something of their own from scratch. However, turning the house into a home proved to be a much more difficult task than they had imagined. The walls were cracked, the roof needed urgent repairs, and the garden had been overrun by weeds. But despite all the difficulties, Mia and Alo were determined to face every challenge together. Every day they woke up early and worked hard, taking the renovations into their own hands. Mia, who had put aside her dream of being a painter, found herself immersed in new responsibilities, while Liam, who wanted to be a photographer, tried to balance his time between the renovations and his passion. Money was tight, and every new repair to the house seemed to bring up a new problem. Even so, they carried on, motivated by their love for each other and their desire to turn the house into a real home. Things didn't get any easier when tensions with Alvaro's family began to weigh on them. Mrs. Ruiz, still disapproving of the marriage, criticized the choice to live in such a modest house, while Serena made a point of reminding Mia that she would never measure up to Alvaro's world. These comments hurt, this house also served as a symbol of the love and effort she and Alvaro were willing to invest in their life together over time. Despite the difficulties, Mia and Liam began to see the fruits of their labor. Every wall that was repaired, every window that worked worked again was a small victory that showed they were on the right track. Although the path was full of obstacles, every day the house became more welcoming and more like the home they had always dreamed of. Mia and Alvaro learned that when you work together with love you can overcome any challenge, no matter how great, and so little by little they transformed not only the house but also their lives. While Mia and Alo continued to work on the country house, they began to discover little treasures hidden among the old walls. One day while cleaning one of the rooms, Mia found a wooden box buried under the floorboards. Inside the box were old letters and photographs from a family that had lived there many years before. The letters spoke of difficult times, wars, and the sacrifices the family had made to keep their house standing. Reading those words, Mia and Liam felt an immediate connection with the past. The photographs showed moments of joy and sadness of a family that, like them, had struggled to turn that house into a home. Seeing the images of people who decades ago had walked the same corridors and faced similar challenges moved Mia. She felt that the history of that house was now part of her own. Every corner of the house seemed to tell a story, and Mia and Alvaro realized that they weren't just renovating a building but also preserving the memories of everyone who had lived there before them. These discoveries gave Mia and Alvaro a new perspective on their work. They no longer saw renovations as simply repairing walls or roofs, but as a way of honoring the life stories that the house carried. Every nail they pounded, every wall they painted was a gesture of respect for those who came before. The house, which had once looked like just an old decaying building, now revealed itself as a place full of life, memories, and love. This gave the couple extra strength to carry on even when things got tough. Over time, Mia and Liam began to feel that this house was not just the place where they lived but a home that welcomed them and connected them to something greater. They realized that just like the families before them, they were building their own story full of challenges and victories, and this awareness made them feel even more determined to continue. Now they knew they weren't alone. The history of that house was intertwined with their own, and that inspired them to keep going, knowing that they were writing the next chapter in a story that began long before them and would surely continue long after. In the midst of so many difficulties, Mia and Liam faced a new challenge that left them desperate. Mia's mother, Claire's health began to deteriorate rapidly, and the doctors said she needed urgent surgery. The problem was that the operation was very expensive and the couple couldn't afford it. Mia felt helpless, trying every way she could to raise the money, but nothing seemed to be enough. The fear of losing her mother began to weigh heavily on her shoulders, making every day a struggle against time. It was then that Gordon, an elderly widowed neighbor who lived a few km from the cottage, showed up with an unexpected proposal. Gordon was a lonely man who had lost his wife years ago and found comfort in the friendship he had developed with Claire. He knew about the difficult situation Mia and Liam were going through, and without thinking twice decided he would do something to help. Gordon had a small property outside the village, a place he hardly ever visited but which was still good value. Gordon knocked on Mia and Alvaro's door and with a firm look on his face said that he would sell his property to pay for Claire's operation. Mia was shocked by his generosity, hardly believing that someone would be willing to sacrifice something so valuable to help them. Alo, equally moved, tried to refuse, saying that they couldn't accept such a grand gesture, but Gordon, with the wisdom of someone who had lived a long time, insisted. He said that Claire's life was much more important than any material possession and that he couldn't stand by and watch his friend suffer. With the money from the sale of Gordon's property, Mia and Alvaro managed to pay for Claire's operation, which was a success. The recovery was slow, but Claire was safe, and the relief this brought the couple was indescribable. Gordon's generosity not only saved Claire's life but also taught Mia and Alvaro a valuable lesson about the power of love and sacrifice. They promised that they would never forget what Gordon had done for them, and more than that, they promised to live their lives with the same generosity and compassion that he had shown. As Mia and Alo began to get back on their feet after the challenges with the house and Claire's health, a new and unexpected danger arose, threatening what little peace they had achieved. One day, while doing some renovations on the house, Alo discovered something that would change everything. When he knocked down an old wall, he found a hidden safe full of jewels and money. Surprised, he called Mia, and together they began to investigate where it could have come from. It was then that Liam remembered stories he had heard about his father, a respected businessman who seemed to have dark secrets. Searching for more information, Alo discovered the truth. His father had been involved in criminal activities years ago, and those jewels were part of an old robbery. Alo was devastated to learn that his family's fortune was tainted by a dirty past. Mia, although shocked, stayed by Alvaro's side, supporting him as he struggled to understand how to deal with this discovery. They knew that this safe could be the solution to many of their financial problems, but they also knew that using it would mean betraying their principles and living with a huge burden on their consciences. Alvaro and Mia's decision was a brave one. They chose to hand over the safe to the authorities even though they knew it could bring to light secrets that their family preferred to keep buried. Their action triggered a series of events, including the investigation of Alvaro's father's former criminal partners. When these men discovered that Alo had found the safe and handed it over to the police, they decided to take drastic action. On a stormy night, these men broke into Mia and Alvaro's house, seeking revenge and trying to recover what they believed was theirs. Liam, determined to protect Lucia and everything they had built, bravely faced the invaders. The fight was intense, but before anything worse happened, the police arrived in time. Thanks to a quick call from Mia, the criminals were arrested and the truth about her father's past came out, although the road ahead was still uncertain and full of challenges. Mia and Alvaro knew they had done the right thing. They had faced danger together, and even though their lives had been turned upside down, they were determined to rebuild their future based on honesty and love. After all the challenges and dangers they faced, Mia and Alvaro finally began to glimpse a future together, but there was still one last barrier to overcome: the relationship with Ms. Ruiz, Alvaro's mother. From the outset, she had disapproved of the relationship and done everything she could to separate the couple, but now, with the truth about her husband's past exposed and the danger averted, she felt consumed by guilt and shame. Isolated in her mansion, Ms. Ruiz began to realize that she was losing something much more valuable than the social status she had always tried to protect: the love and connection with her son Liam. Despite all the resentment he felt, knew he couldn't just abandon his mother. He understood that behind all the rigidity there was a woman who was also suffering. With Mia's support, Liam decided to visit his mother and try to reconcile. They went to the Ruiz mansion, a place that now seemed cold and empty. When they arrived, they found Ms. Ruiz sitting alone, and for the first time Alvaro saw tears in her eyes. She apologized for all her mistakes, admitting that she had let pride and fear speak louder than love for her son. Mia, who has always believed in the importance of family, also joined the conversation. With gentle words, she talked about forgiveness and the opportunity to start again. Ms. Ruiz, touched by Mia's sincerity and the affection she showed Alo, realized that it was time to leave the past behind and embrace the future. She asked to be part of their lives and promised to do everything she could to support the couple. From then on, it was an emotional moment where wounds began to heal and the possibility of a new family relationship emerged. Over time, Ms. Ruiz began to visit Mia and Alvaro at the country house, becoming more and more involved in their lives and forming a real bond with the daughter-in-law she had previously rejected. Claire, Mia's mother, also played an important role in this reconciliation, showing Ms. Ruiz that what really mattered was love and mutual support. Little by little, the country house, which had once seemed a symbol of decay, was transformed into a home full of laughter, love and hope. Mia and Liam were finally able to live the life they had always dreamed of, surrounded by a family that, despite everything, had found peace and unity.